So this will ramble on just a little bit because I had forgotten how I actually made this until about midway and towards the end of this discussion. But mushrooms, chickpeas, and coconut oil and a few other pieces. Peel back those layers and see what we got going on today. So I cooked quite a bit. So just to be on the safe side, I wrapped it in aluminum foil. And then I press down, make sure everything will fit. And so I'm gonna start in on it just like this. But that's kind of the consistency I was looking for on these beans. And so I think that's going to be pretty good, pretty tight. Yeah, that tastes absolutely awesome. I cooked it quite different. I did this one very different. It's almost Jamaican style. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Jamaican style. And it came out absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. I don't have a name for it, but it is chickpeas. And see, what other bean did I use? I think it's all just chickpeas this time. And a few of the sprouted lentils. I put those at the very end. I actually cooked those separately in tomato sauce with garlic and coconut milk. So I let the tomato sauce, the coconut milk, and the garlic, I let that simmer over very low heat. That never had high heat applied to it. But this particular set of beans, I actually did something different. I used coconut oil and then heat up the coconut oil. And then I put in the spices. And then I put in the beans. So I didn't use vegetable broth right out. So I actually mixed the spices into the beans in real time. And so it pretty much burned, which was a good thing because I was going to deglaze the cook surface with vegetable broth in a later step. So I added the vegetable broth like in a third step rather than in a second step. So I did coconut oil, then spices, then the beans, and then I stirred the oil, spices, and beans together at medium-high heat. Stirred them together for almost 5 minutes so that those spices would like solidify and harden around each bean. And so then I added vegetable broth just a little bit later on, but it was still enough vegetable broth to fill up about a third of the cooking area. And then I let that simmer for about 30 minutes to 40 minutes and just simmer like that with the lid half crooked. And then I let it just sit like that and just let it all just simmer and simmer and simmer. No additional ingredients added. And it came out absolutely fabulous that way. And then I added the second I added the tomato sauce, coconut milk, garlic mixture. I actually added the lentils to that at low simmer. So I let that simmer at very low for about 30-40 minutes as well. And then had it all stirred together. Then I added lentils in there, sprouted lentils for about 5-10 minutes. Let it just sit there. You're right, because I didn't want that to get too hot. And then I then mixed that into the pot with the simmered beans and vegetable broth. So that was the end step for that pot. And then that then combined them, and I stirred all that together, and that's what we have here. And I like this consistency a lot better, right? I don't like that liquidy consistency so much. I like it like this. And so I think this came out extremely well. I also forgot to mention that this has mushrooms. So I use a whole can of mushrooms. You can't see it now, but yeah, a whole can of mushrooms. And I tell you what, this meal was absolutely on fire. I absolutely enjoyed this so much. It's one of the best I ever made. And it came out so good. And that's Luden's wild rice. Comes in a purple bag. And so, yeah, this was absolutely one of the best meals I've ever had in my life. And I never thought it would turn out this way, but it did. And it has a little spiciness to it too from the black pepper. And so this is really, really, really good. So what I really did was, because my memory is just a little fuzzy on my sequence, I put in the coconut oil, right? And I got it to a medium-high heat. I didn't want to use high heat. Then I put in a can of mushrooms. If you want to see the type of mushrooms that I use, you want to look at the vegan grocery run video that I did. But I put in I drained the can of mushrooms, because it came with liquid. And then, so I drained that can, and then I poured the entire batch of mushrooms, wet mushrooms, into that hot coconut oil, and I stirred it and I stirred it, because I got inspiration from that from a cooking video where, you know, someone was cooking dried mushrooms, and they had sauteed them and it looked real good, but these mushrooms were wet in the can, so it wasn't going to turn out the same. But the actual result in this case was phenomenal. So I actually stirred those mushrooms and rotated them. And so I cooked them for about 5 to 10 minutes, getting the moisture out. And what moisture was left behind bonded and mixed with the hot coconut oil. And so then I poured in the spices, right? I had a good, nice clutch of spices that I had mixed together. I poured that in there, and I stirred that into that hot mushroom coconut oil mix, and it's, you know, it was starting to really solidify around everything, you know. And then after I was satisfied that I got a good coating on those mushrooms, then I poured in 2 cans of chickpeas, and then that got to mixing with the rest of the spices and the extra moisture from the chickpeas, and it was I fully drained that can. I didn't use the extra water that was in the can. And I tell you what, when it all started just coating together, that was absolutely phenomenal. And then after a while, after about 5 minutes of stirring that and putting it all together and getting that like to really sear in, then I put in the vegetable broth, and just a little bit of vegetable broth, so that it would, you know, a lot of it would like kind of, you know, fizzle out a little bit. And then it was like, okay, after a while of that simmering, like I said earlier, then I poured in the separate preparation of tomato sauce, coconut milk, garlic, and lentils. And the overall final result was superb and fabulous. And the bowl afterwards is still very clean. You still wash it, you still wipe it down, you know, with soap and everything, but you don't require as much soap, and you know, it's just easier to maintain when it's 99% already clear of any kind of sauce left over or whatever. So that's a good plus to this whole approach.